All right, so let's do this. I'm going to try narrating this video instead of using the audio from the trip. I didn't write a script or anything. I'm just going to wing it and kind of watch it along with you guys and tell you what's going on. So let's just hope for the best. So we are in Panthertown, which is a part of the Nantahala National Forest in western North Carolina. I come here a lot. This place is like 15 minutes from my house. So you'll probably see us hiking in here quite a bit this year. There's also not as many people as some of the more popular places, so it's easy for me to choose to come here. There's Faye. This is her third trip or fourth trip, fourth hiking trip, and only her second time wearing that pack. I did put some small water bottles in there just to start putting weight on, and I'll be increasing the amount as we go. But for now, she's just going to have a little bit of weight. And she did really well with it. I do enjoy that pack. It does a good job of staying centered. That's something that I've struggled with in the past. So this trail that we're on, this is the main Panthertown Valley. And I'm going to pull out the map now and show you guys where we are. Okay, so this is my paper map of Panthertown. It is a map from 2017. It's fairly up to date, though I think there have been some slight changes, but not much. It pretty much hits everything. So we started here at the Cold Mountain Gap trailhead, which you can see there's a few trails that come off of it. We took this one and went straight down this way. And right in here is where I start recording the main video. I didn't record this whole stretch because for most of what I do, I have to do that stretch every time. So the first 30, 40 minutes are always going to be the same. I like to head up this way sometimes. Sometimes I head up this way, like in the first video, is all up this direction. But for this trip, we went this way, and we went all the way up the valley here, and that's where the first sped up section takes place. And then right in here, we took a left, and this is where the big pine forest is that I walked through and talk about. Then we turned up this little valley, and right in here is where Granny Burl Falls. You can see it written right there, but the falls is actually right in here. So that's where we stop and have a little video there, and Obi has a little swim. And then we head up the valley a little bit more, turn left here, and this is where the shelter is that we walk by. Then we head up this way through this valley, the Great Wall Trail, which we'll see. And right in here is where I stop and do a little speech, which I'm most likely going to voice over just to make the points that I have a little clearer. And then after that, we head up this ascent trail through this gully. And once we meet up with this trail up here, if we were to have turned this way, it would have been our most direct route home. But instead, we went this way and went out to this big overlook right here, which is where we stop and have a little snack and some recording. From here, I head down one of Carlton's trails. Here's a picture of Carlton. His name was Carlton McNeil. He passed away in 2007 at the age of 86. He is responsible for carving out most of these trails. So a lot of these little side trails, these red dotted ones that you see, are footpaths, which means you can't take a bike on them. And most of them were cut out by Carlton. So we took this trail down here to meet back into the valley. And right in here is where I let Faye off a leash for a second. And so that's where that takes place. And then we head back up the valley, all the way back up here, get back onto Max Gap Trail here, and take it back to the parking lot this way. And that was our trip. It was a little over 9 miles, as you can see here on the heat map. And it was a beautiful day. All right. So maybe we'll check in with Hiker Guy and see what he has to say. We try one of those things where I speed up the video. Let's see how that works. All right, we're not going to let him talk again for a while at least. All right, so I think the speed is maybe a little too high. It was 32, I think, here. Maybe it was 16. But it was such a straight trail that it seemed to work. So we stopped here because we came across a guy who was a fisherman. And just like all the other encounters with other people, it really freaked out Faye to the point that I had to pull her off to the side and comfort her. And so we're still not really at the point where coming across other people is like fun and exciting with her. She still gets a little bit scared. But that's okay. You know, this is only our third or fourth hike, so we're getting there. We're working on it. And we are getting close to where we're going to split off of this trail. We're still in the main valley at this point. And this is our intersection. We're going to turn left. And I really like this little transition here from this eastern hardwood forest that we're in right now, which is mostly going to be like oaks and maples and hickories and tulip poplars and things like that. And then once we come out of here into this, it's like a grassy meadow that kind of looks like could be someone's lawn, but it's out in the middle of the forest, miles away from a road. And then we enter into this little pine barren right here. And I really like these. I tend to call them enchanted forests because they just have like a magical feeling to them. And I really enjoy cutting through them. This particular spot is where I see the most people camping in the summertime. Like you'll see, there's a couple wilderness therapy groups that come through here. This is generally where I see them. And now we're heading towards Granny Burrell Fall. And I really like this section because there's just a lot of little pools and water spots for the dogs to stop. I think I'm talking about here how much I wish I could just let her off a leash so she could explore it without, feeling me pulling her. So we're heading up the side of the creek now to Granny Burrell Falls, which is going to be right up here around the corner. Yeah, I really love this place. It's just a great little spot. You have this waterfall off to the left and then this long rock slide. You get plenty of sun. And then you got this huge pool down at the bottom. And you see Obi down there cooling off. And like I really wish I could let Faye off. I think she would have been okay. I don't think she wants to be away from us, but I don't have the verbal control over her at all the way I do with like Obi. So I'm not comfortable letting her run around. And here's the shelter that's just out in the middle of the woods. It's a pretty cool little place. The only people I've ever seen here camping have been like Boy Scout groups. And I've also seen them like making repairs and stuff. And I have no idea how old this shelter is. But it has been there for a lot longer than I have. So now we're going to turn and head up the valley right in front of the Great Wall of Panthertown, which is just on the other side of those trees. You can kind of see it through there, but not really. I wanted to walk up to the rock face and have a little break there, but I saw some people in hammocks and I just didn't want to bother them. So I went down to the end where this campsite is and sitting down, giving the dog some treats here. But this whole next little section, I kind of went on like a little monologue that I'm going to spare you guys because some of the thoughts that I have when I'm out in the middle of woods, they don't really need to be shared. They're better off where they are. But I don't mind giving you guys some bullet points on what I'm talking about because I do want to put some of the messages out that I'm trying to say here. And in this first little bit, I I am basically saying that I'm not here to like spread any sort of ideologies or any political talk, which you would know just by watching the videos. I'm here to talk about the dogs. I'm here to talk about the woods and our experiences hiking, and that's it. I don't really have opinions that I want to share with anyone. Um, that being said, this next little section that he's going to go on about is very much an opinion that he's trying to share, and I don't really mind trying to do a quick synopsis of that. And basically, what I want to say is that, well, the reason that you don't see any recordings when I'm encountering other people is because I put my phone away when I see them. And for now, I'm still doing all this recording on my phone, which I probably need to switch to hands free. But when I see other people, when I encounter groups, I always put my phone away. And the reason for that is that I don't want to give the impression that you need to experience nature through your phone and that you need to record it all. I think, particularly young people, when they start a new hobby or a new career or anything like that, I think that you just subconsciously look at people that are in their 40s or 50s that have been doing whatever your thing is for, 15 to 20 years, and you see them and it makes an impression, and it's part of their worldview. They're still building their worldview, and how you are and how you behave and the actions that you model when you're doing whatever said hobby or career is, the young people are gonna, they're gonna be impressed. Like there's gonna be an impression made. And so the impression that I want to leave is that you should be experiencing all of this without your phone. I mean, you should bring your phone for emergency use. I think that's important. And it is, I mean, of course, it's okay to take pictures and videos. Like that's what the first part of this is about. Is that I'm not here to give you my opinions. Like if you want to spend your time looking through your phone and taking pictures and videos, then that's fine. Do that. And I know it's a contradiction because that's what I'm doing right now. But the point that I'm making is that this is after 15 years of me doing this without having a camera in my hand, because I think that you miss out on a lot if you're looking at life through your phone. And so uh, that's the message that I want to spend, is that when you're out in the woods, it's best to be as present as possible and to listen and to watch And that's where you're going to get the most out of it. Um, Again, I think it's cool to take pictures. I'm glad I took a lot of pictures of hiking over the years, with Elle, with Obi, and I'm glad that I did. Like this picture right here. I'm very glad that I have those pictures to look back on. And I'll be glad that I have these videos to look back on. But I think it's important to spend as much time off of the screen as possible. All right. Well, let's get moving again. So here he is just going on about how he wants to build a house back there, because this spot, you're surrounded on three sides by the mountains, and you got water, there's plenty of deer down there, there's medicinal plants everywhere, and you have this grassy knoll back on the hill back behind, and that's where I would build my house. This is my spot in some like apocalyptic scenario. This is where I'd end up. All right, let's get moving again. All right, so now we're starting our ascent up to the top of Big Green Mountain. And I think we got another speed up here. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if the speed ups work very well on such a curvy trail. And you can see these like bridges that were built. I mean, somebody had to haul these beams out here. There is a place that you can get a four-wheeler, but it's still a bit of a walk out to where we are right now. But there's quite a lot of hurricane damage in here too. So the trail has kind of moved as time has gone on to get around some of it. But yeah, I mean, this is about as far from a road as you can be, and it's one of the only places that they have that. All right, let's see what he has to say. Hopefully, he's talking about how cool these stairs are and how much I love them. Yeah, so the stairs are awesome. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole trip. But some guy had to haul out like a gas powered concrete saw to cut those in. Or maybe he chiseled it. I don't know. But that is cut into the bedrock. And I think it's pretty cool. So here we're at the top of the ridge, and that way is our way home. But we're not going to go that way. We're going to go this way and head out to the overlook. And I really like this section. I think I'd do a speed up at some point, but um, it's a really cool little section. There's a ton of understory here. The canopy is a little bit thin, but like the understory is thriving. We are making our way. That's going to be one of Carlton's trails. I mentioned Carlton McNeil earlier, and that's our shortcut out. But this trail right here is what's going to lead us out to the overlook. And just like the other overlook on the first video or the second video, these are all wild blueberries that we're pushing through. It's all blueberry bushes in here. So in the right time of year, you can pretty much eat as many blueberries as you want. So here's our view of the valley below the Great Wall of Panthertown. So we came in on the far right of the screen down there, and we and we went pretty much across the screen from right to left, and we went all the way pretty much down to the bottom of the valley, further than the screen is showing right now, and that's where I did my little speech down in there. And then we came up and around out to here. And you can kind of see someone's house in the distance there. And off to the left is where the other trailhead is that leads into here. So that one's much closer than the trailhead that we started at. And if I just wanted to come up here as quick as possible from that trailhead, it's probably around an hour. And I don't even know what this thing is. Just some little bug that I saw in my pack, but that looked pretty cool. And I just gave the dogs their lunch or some treats and a little pig skin to chew on, which Obi's still working on his, and Faye's back here. But she looks happy. I think she's enjoying her time here. She seems like a happy dog. Am I talking right now? I'm hesitant to hear what he has to say, but maybe we should listen again. It's important that you get enough salt, or else you get a headache. All right, we're definitely not letting him talk again for the rest of the video, which means I have 7 more minutes to fill. Cool. And she is a sweet dog. All right, let's get moving. One last look at the view, and we're going to head back into the woods. So I mentioned Carlton's trails before, and they are some of my favorite features of this area because they're all just the most faint trails. And so I let her, once again, made the mistake of letting her pick the trail, and I decided to follow her because I know that Carlton's trail is somewhere in this area, and I mean, everything funnels down the backside of this hill. So I figured we'd follow it. I mean, it's obviously a trail, and it is going the way that I want to go. So we're just going to keep going. And I can always backtrack, and I'm close enough to where I know that I can always backtrack. But this is the first time I've ever walked down this thing, and I think it's right around here that I'm starting to realize I don't know if this is a trail at all anymore. But I just kept following it, and eventually it did connect with Carlton's trail, which is pretty much just a wash. They go straight down the hill, and here is the first time that I ever let Faye off a leash, which was a mistake. I mean, she didn't really go very far. She ran up here, and that was the last time.
That was Faith's
let's listen.
first official time being off leash in the woods. And it was a little scary at first because she ran ahead and kept going and didn't respond, but she did occasionally stop and look back and come back towards us. But then once I'd get within a few feet of her, she'd start running forward again. But I think she didn't want to get too far. It's like she wanted to stay within range.
Yeah, so she would run ahead, and she would stop and look back at us to make sure that we were still there. So that's a really good sign. She seemed to be mostly interested in staying where Obi was, but she was always, me as well. She was always looking at where we were, but she wouldn't come within grabbing range. I had to sit down in this trail and pull the treat bag out, and then she came up and I clipped her back in. And there's my sunglasses, which I dropped. And this kind of terrain where there's branches like that, they just kept knocking them off like 4 times it happened. But this is pretty much what that bushwhack I did last week looked like, except There was no trail at all. It was just like the thickest part of what this is.
My knees hurt.
Yeah, okay, so that was the last time I'm gonna let him say anything, but my knees still do hurt today. So at this point, I was actually getting pretty upset with Obi because he kept running ahead much further than I want him to be. So I started kind of yelling at him and telling him to come over and be near me because I need him to set a better example than that. So now I'm kind of realizing that I'm going to have to put more time into him because they both just kind of want to be with each other, and she wants to be out front, so he wants to be out front. And I don't want him to be out front. I would really prefer her not be out front either, but it's just like her third or fourth hike, so I'm kind of just letting her get used to hiking, and I don't really mind her being out there, but he was getting way too far out ahead of us. And then that was making her want to run out. So I was getting frustrated with him. So now we're down and back into this valley, which was not the first valley we're in. This is the second one. It's called Green Valley, and it's between Big and Little Green Mountain. And I think it's just absolutely gorgeous in here. I'm going to speed it up again. And this is kind of the last, like, long, flat stretch of the hike. We did have a guy jog up behind us on this stretch, and it freaked her out. She started growling and barking at him, but I pulled her off to the side, and we were fine. And there's just another big campsite down here in Green Valley. I think it's beautiful. And then we come out and we made our way up to the top of the ridge. And this part, I just started thinking about how, like, no matter where the destination is, like how far or how long it's going to take me to get there, I don't really care if the journey looks like this. And if this is considered the journey, then I think this is actually the destination. And I think I'm already there. And that's the realization that I was having right here. Because this is exactly what I'm looking for. Just to haunt the forest with my dogs in a fern riddled trail with evergreens and hardwoods, medicinal plants everywhere, and my two best friends. I mean, this is the destination. This is where I want to be. This is what it looks like. And this is what it looks like. And this is what it looks like. And in the end, this is what it looks like. We'll see you next time.